Welcome, everyone. Good to be practicing with you again. Yeah, so invitation this week, if you noticed, said we go a little bit light on instruction and just have a little bit more awareness of freedom of movement. So, you know what? Uh, let's just get started. I'm going to get started standing. So, coming up onto your feet, if you're not already there, and then standing and doing something a little bit different, and that is locking your knees, drawing your weight back towards your heels, and feel how that influences feet contacting the floor. And then unlocking your knees and actually bringing weight a little bit forward. Feel how that, I would guess for almost everyone, more fully contacts soles of your feet to the floor. But guess what? If this were a yoga infomercial, right now the announcer would say, but wait, there's more. Yeah, so not to overdo the instruction, but how about one hand on your lower abdomen, below your navel, and then we'll start that whole process over again, locking your knees locked out, weight in your heels, and just feeling what's going on underneath that hand on your abdomen. And then first step is unlocking your knees, bit of a bend in the knees, softening the knees, and then actually bringing weight a little bit more forward and see what, if any, change occurs in your lower abdomen underneath that hand. Yeah, so truth be told, perhaps you've already noticed I'm kind of a skinny guy. I can put my hand here and feel something, but that's not the case for everybody, is it? So maybe that's more of an internal feeling. What does it feel like to go from knees locked, weight in the heels, to knees soft, weight forward? With that little bit of more contact in the feet, feet soft, knees soft. Let's begin with an arm sweep. We're going to begin with your non-dominant arm. So I'm right-handed and I'm mirror image to you. So this is going to look like my left, but it's actually my right. I'm going to start with my left. I'm just going to swing it forward and up. As arm comes up, palm turns up towards the ceiling. As arm goes back behind me, palm turns and faces away from me. And we're not doing this with a lot of control of the arm, just kind of a pendulum momentum swing. And then next time that arm is up in the air, holding it up and reaching up through the little finger side of your hand. But guess what? Grounding down through the little toe of your foot on that reaching up side. So reaching up side foot, little toe grounding down, and taking that arm out to the side about 30 degrees, turning your wrist so that thumb points to the floor, and then reaching behind you, reaching. Now I can kind of see myself in the mirror here, and it may be a little bit hard to see that movement. So I'm just going to kneel here, and then maybe you can see it even better. So I'm just kneeling. You can stay standing. So I'm kneeling so you can see that arm sweeping back movement a little bit better. So we're swinging up again, and then reaching up through the little finger side of your hand. At the same time, grounding through the little toe side of that. For most of us, probably left foot. And then arm comes out to the side. And then I turn my palm so that thumb faces towards the floor and reach behind. Yeah. And just checking in left side, right side. Two sides feel the same. Side we just worked with, pretty obvious it's going to feel a little different. And, you know, we go through this quite a bit. Check in left side, right side. And I understand that for some of you, you may be thinking, well, what's the point in all of that? For heaven's sakes, it's going to feel different. Why do we even ask the question? Well, in asking the question, there's the practice. Asking the question invites your awareness into your body so that you're not just thinking about left side, right side. You're actually feeling with embodied mind what difference there might be. And perhaps even going a little deeper, not just that it's different, but what are the qualities of that difference? Let's not overdo it. We'll go right away to the other side. So it's swinging that arm. Yep, just a pendulum swing. Casual momentum swing. Freeing up shoulder joint. Now, with weight a little bit forward in the feet and knees soft. Yeah. Inviting a little bit more stability, more activity, even in torso and lower body. Holding that arm up, reaching up through the little finger side of your hand, down through the little toe side. Arm out to the side, thumb turns towards the floor. I'll bet you I can touch that wall behind you. Oh, not quite, not quite, not quite. Ah, that's a good reach. One more. 5 or 6 swings. And then it's reaching up. And at the same time, simultaneously reaching down through the little toe. Yeah, little finger, little toe. Kind of a different perspective. Arm out to the side. Thumb turns towards the floor. Reaching. Oh, I did. Yep, I got it. I got the wall that time. Just a few breaths to check in again. Left side, right side. This is pretty routine, isn't it? It seems like we get this phone call down here every day. And I'm guessing it's a robocall. So I'm going to let it go. Let's head for the floor. A few sun salutations, just by way of warming up. So not worrying too much about form right here. Just, how about exhale, sweeping up. Inhale, folding. Bit of a lift on the exhale. All the way upside down. Inhale. Exhale, sweeping all the way up. Arms to the side. Inhale. Yeah, so you may recall that a few weeks ago I said, we switched things around and I said, let's just sweep up on the inhale and see what the difference is. So let's do that right here. Rather than sweeping up on the exhale, let's a full deep inhale to sweep up. Then exhale, folding. Bit of a lift, inhale. All the way upside down. Exhale. Sweeping up on the inhale. Arms to the side, exhale. Yeah. And again, it's not that one way is right and the other way is wrong. There are specific reasons for doing both. But you know what? Today, we're just cultivating a little bit more freedom of movement. Let's do that sweeping up mostly on the inhale. So one more time, we'll sweep up and then perhaps we'll do downward facing dog. Full deep inhale. Sweeping up, exhale, folding. Bit of a lift, inhale. Hands and knees, exhale. And then we'll go right to downward facing dog. Knees bent, heels lifted. Not worrying too much about form right here. Still in warm-up mode. Let's inhale to hands and knees. Taking those hands forward about one hand length. Bringing hips forward into that kneeling plank. Aligning knees, hips, shoulders, and ears. Let's just bend our elbows, come down about halfway. Coming down about halfway. Slow, steady, strong. Back up. And back to downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, really beneficial pose, but most of the benefit we know nowadays comes from just being upside down. It's inhale, hands and knees. Exhale, stepping forward, fold. Full deep inhale, sweeping up. Arms to the side, exhale. Got to make our way down to the floor. We will be on the floor then for a few minutes. So if you need to move your laptop or iPad, this would be the time to do it. Let's just meet on the floor. I'll do a half sun salutation to get there. Inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, fold. Bit of a lift, inhale. Exhale, hands and knees. And then coming down, first seated and then onto your back, knees bent and soles of the feet on the floor. And I think we've done this one before. If you're on a mat, taking your knees wide, about as wide as the mat. And then from your feet, just tipping your knees side to side. So knees tip, and they don't tip all that far, maybe a third of the way to the floor. Just beginning to warm up hip joints. Side to side. Drawing your awareness into those hip joints. Pelvis stays more or less steady, stable. You could even put your fingertips on your hip crests so that pelvis doesn't move all that much. And then bringing knees center. Done with the knees for now. And then with arms up towards the ceiling, grasping elbows, then it's what we did with the knees, we'll do with the arms and the elbows. So it's elbows to the left, and then turn your head and look to the right. So elbows go one way, turning your head to gaze the other way. Yeah, freeing up joints and tissues in shoulder girdle, neck. Elbows going one way, head turning, looking the other way, pausing in the center. And now we're going to add the knees to this whole movement. So knees are going to go to the left, elbows to the right, and gaze follows your knees. So knees and nose turning in the same direction, elbows going the other way. Boy, that almost rhymes, doesn't it? I'll bet you I could come up with something pretty clever there. Maybe some of you can. So knees and nose going one way, elbows going the other way. Yep, just one more each way. Freeing things up, getting ready for what we'll do in the rest of the practice. And pretty much just enjoying this movement. And then coming on down, bringing those feet a little bit closer in together. And then bringing knees up towards your chest, drawing both knees in, noticing how that imprints your lower back onto the floor. Beginning to engage lower abdominal muscles by taking those feet, tapping your toes down to the floor, best you can, keeping lower back in contact with the floor. And see in your own body, is it easier to draw those knees in on an exhale? Or is it easier to draw them in on an inhale? What, if any, difference? Inviting awareness into your body to be more embodied. Next time those knees are drawn in, then how about keeping the right knee drawn in with hands behind the thigh, extending your left leg out. As long as you don't run into the couch. And then again on an exhale, we're going to use that bent knee, the knee that's got the hands behind it. We're going to extend that leg forward, and on an exhale, help us to sit up, articulating your spine as you go up and down. Yeah. So not really looking for abs of steel here, just looking to articulate your spine. Another preparation, another harmonious movement. Using that leg as a lever to help pull you up, and as a lever to help ease you back down. Let's pause next time you're down and draw that other leg in. So both legs drawn in now. Remember a moment ago, we tapped both toes to the floor, trying to keep lower back on the floor. Let's do that one more time and notice any difference, left side, right leg, left leg, as feet come down and go back up. One more time, just checking in. Asking the open-ended question. And then we'll go to the other side. So now it's the other leg, right leg out along the floor, grasping behind the left, and then coming up and down. Sit-ups with leg assist. Maybe we won't do quite so many on this side. Next time you're down, pausing there, drawing both knees in. Then we'll just take both feet to the floor one last time. And bringing them back in. And then rolling to one side, coming up on hands and knees. Yeah. So that spinal flexion we just did, guess what? Here it comes in cat pose, cow pose. So how about on an inhale, tipping your hips so that back arches up towards the ceiling. Full deep inhale, and then exhale, tipping hips forward, lifting torso, neck, and head. Couple more here. So that sequence that we just did, one-legged sit-up, articulating spine, kind of getting ready for this right here. And last one, coming to neutral spine. Let's bring our hands forward just a bit, curling toes under, bringing hips up and back, knees bent, heels lifted, downward facing dog. Inhale back to hands and knees. And we'll take our hands even one more hand length forward. Coming forward to that kneeling plank. And this time, going at least halfway down. But if you're feeling strong this morning, you could go all the way to the floor. And then instead of just pushing right straight up, kind of pulling the heel of your hand back to draw your torso forward and up. Coming back to hands and knees. And stepping forward, forward, fold. Full deep inhale. Let's exhale, bit of a lift. All the way upside down. Inhale. Pausing here for the exhale so that we can sweep up on the inhale. Sweeping all the way up, arms to the side. Yeah, so just gotta check my notes here, make sure I'm still headed in the right direction. Let's go wide with your feet and toes pointed out, hands on hips. And on an exhale, bending at knees, hips, and ankles, coming on down. And inhale, going back up. So up and down like that a few times. Remember how we started that experiment with weight in the heels, knees locked? Well, of course, here knees can't be locked. But it's possible to have more weight in the heel than in the forefoot. But you already know a little bit more weight in the forefoot brings you more fully in contact with the floor. Let's hold this next squatting position. And then lifting both your heels, heels lifting. And we'll set both heels down, slow, steady, smooth to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, contact. And then we'll just move side to side a bit. So straightening your left leg, shifting your weight over the right, and then coming back the other way. Yeah, remember that. On the floor, hips moving side to side, knees moving side to side. Yeah, kind of the same thing here. A little bit more dynamic. Let's pause in the center. And then on an exhale, sweeping your arms up overhead. And inhale, arms come down, coming up. And then it's exhale, arms sweeping up, seat coming down. Whole body movements. Bilateral movements, but still possible to study what difference may there be in knees left to right, hip movements left to right, shoulders left to right. Boy, pretty much everything moving right now. Yeah. Last one, we'll swipe down. Coming back up. Stepping feet together. Let's just do a quick sun salutation. Full deep inhale to sweep up. Exhale, folding. Bit of a lift, inhale. Hands and knees, exhale. Next exhale, downward facing dog. And then it's either hands and knees to kneeling plank, or from your toes, straight arm full plank. Maybe bending arms just a bit. About halfway down, coming back up. Coming back to dog pose. Coming to hands and knees. Stepping forward, forward, fold. Complete exhale here. In order to sweep up on the inhale. Arms to the side. So we've done a bit of work with shoulders freeing up. A little bit of something here to free up fascia in the forearms and the wrists. And that would be, I'm going to come forward so you can see my hands a little bit better. With palms facing towards your thighs, it's just lifting your fingers kind of like you were flying those hands. And at the same time, taking them up, eventually coming all the way up to shoulder height. And then with hands at shoulder height, fingertips pointed towards the ceiling. Then just bringing those fingertips together overhead. Yeah, perhaps you notice a little bit of a tingling sensation. And that could be in the little finger side of your hand, or it could be in the index finger side too, wherever the fascia may be a little tight. One more time, bringing fingertips together overhead. And then hands down, and sweeping arms all the way down. Yeah, I don't know about you, but nice, warm, active feeling in my shoulders right now. So one more bit of work for the shoulders is going to be bringing arms to a goalpost position. And then with elbows at shoulder height, tipping those palms forward, kind of like tipping the goalposts forward and back. Forward and back. Yeah. So activating muscles of the upper back, around the shoulder blades, deltoids. Now, all the muscles that help us hold our arms up, our shoulders up. Last one, and then just bringing arms on down. And with hands on hips, we're headed for warrior two pose, but in a particular way. Try not looking at your feet. Without looking at your feet, taking a wide stride. Without looking at your feet, right toes turn in, left toes turn out. And without looking at your feet, on an exhale, bending that front knee. Inhale, coming back up. Up and down a few times. Yeah. So all those things we've done up to this point, freeing up hip joint, knee joint, ankle joint. Next time knee is straight and you're up, noticing where the weight falls in that front foot, left foot. And then beginning to bend your knee so that the weight moves more to the center of that front foot. And bending it even further so that it goes into the forefoot. And then drawing the knee back so that knee is in a position that brings weight pretty evenly to that front foot. So without looking at that front foot or the knee, see how you can feel internally. Knee over the arch, bringing hands to heart, and then lifting your elbows to about shoulder height. Yeah, so here you are, Cindy. This is your bar exercise. But right here, right now, if I were a betting man, I'd say neck muscles are working pretty good to keep those arms up. See if you can flow your neck muscles out of the back of your skull. There you go. And then take arms out to the side. So rather than neck muscles holding up your arms, all that arm work we did activating shoulder muscles. Shoulders hold up the arms rather than your neck. Neck muscles flowing out of the back of your skull, down your spine. And then just turning, looking out over that left hand. And we'll head for the other side, coming up on an inhale. Hands to heart. Here's the tricky part. Without looking at your feet, left toes turn in, right toes turn out. And then bending that front knee, noticing how the weight falls in that front foot and exploring internally, where does the knee land such that weight is more or less equal in that front foot from heel to forefoot. And for me, right about there. And then it's bringing hands to heart, lifting elbows, flowing neck muscles out of the back of your skull. And then extending arms out, keeping those neck muscles soft, flowing down your spine as you turn and look over your right hand. And then on an inhale, sweeping up, bringing hands to heart, stepping feet together. One more sun salutation. Inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, folding. Bit of a lift. All the way upside down. And then it's hands and knees and downward facing dog. One of these sessions will pay a little bit more attention to downward facing dog. Heels lifted, knees bent. But not today. Coming forward to hands and knees. And then it's either that kneeling plank, or if you're feeling strong, it could be a full plank. To lower yourself down to the floor. And then rather than a push up to come up, how about drawing the heel of your hand back, such that torso, neck, and head slide forward and up. And we'll come right back to downward facing dog. And then it's hands and knees. On an exhale, stepping forward, forward, fold. Full deep inhale, sweeping up. Arms to the side, exhale. Let's see here. Just gotta be sure and headed in the right direction. And sure enough, right on time. We'll do just a bit of a chair pose by way of heading for a little bit more whole body movement right after that. So how about hands on hips? Remember how we started? Knees soft, weight a bit forward in the feet. And then on an exhale, taking your hips behind you, bringing you into chair pose. Inhale, arms reaching straight forward. And then on the exhale, arms come up. And we straighten to come up. Arms to the side. So we'll turn sideways. Maybe you can see that movement a little bit better. It's seat comes back in order to bend knees, hips, and ankles. And then full deep inhale, arms reaching forward, filling that upper back. And then on an exhale, coming all the way up, arms to the side. Last one. Let's do this last one together in silence, in your own time. arms to the side. Yeah, so pose we're headed for right now is eagle pose, Gardasana. So we're going to start with a little bit of a chair squat, about like the preamble to a chair squat. Just a bit of a bend in the knees and hips, and then pouring your weight into the right leg, bringing that left foot up and over, and touching those toes to the floor. So I know balancing here is kind of traditional, but not so much working on balance today. There'll be plenty of balance involved in here anyway. So it's left leg over right, it's left arm under right, back of the hands together. Full deep inhale right between your shoulder blades. And then on an exhale, folding forward, bringing elbows down towards your knees. Pausing here. Yeah, so you ever seen an eagle take off? How they leave the earth to fly? They kind of hunch down first, and then they swoop everything up. Let's do that right here. Let's do a full deep exhale in order to inhale and sweep everything up. Inhale, sweeping up, coming up. Arms to the side. So, eagle on the other side. Bit of a bend in the hips, knees, and ankles. Crossing that right foot over the left. It's right over left, so it's right under left. And you can either have back of the hands together, or if you have the facility, remember that bit of unwinding the forearm fascia we did? Maybe it's possible to bring palms together. Yeah, maybe. On an exhale, fold it forward. Pausing here, getting ready for it to take off like an eagle on a full deep inhale. So whenever you're ready, start with a complete exhale, all the way exhale, all the air out, exhale. And then sweeping up. Yeah, pretty interesting movement, huh? Whole body movement. All those joints moving, all that soft tissue engaged. Yeah, everything we worked on pretty much so far. Let's bring hands to hips one more time. And then stepping back with your right leg. Right leg stepping back, but not all that far. Such that both feet can be flat on the floor. And then on an exhale, pushing off from the toes of that back foot in order to bend the front knee and lunge forward. And then it's pulling back through the heel of that back foot to bring the front leg straight, coming back up. So up and down like that. Motor for this movement, locus of control is in the back foot. And that right there is a bit of a mindful practice. We're so used to moving in the front, from the front of our body. Awareness there, control there. Next time, knee is bent, back heel is lifted, pausing there. And then taking your hands, putting them on your hip crests, and lifting those hip crests up towards the ceiling just a bit. And then out of that lifted hip crest, extending the back foot, the heel towards the floor, heel reaching out, kind of like telescoping out of your pelvis, coming towards the floor. And then it's hands to heart. And like we did on the chair pose, inhale, reaching forward. Exhale, arms up overhead. First transition is hands to heart. Headed for shaking hands with warrior three. And so in that regard, next transition is to bring your torso into alignment with that back leg. And then shifting your weight forward over the front foot. Kind of locating the control in that hip of that front leg. Suspending the back foot before bringing it up to meet the front foot. Let's go to the other side. So it's left foot stepping back. And then forward and back a few times from the motor of the back foot. And holding this next bent knee position. And with front of the hips lifted up towards the ceiling. Remember the old school cell phones, how they had that collapsible extending antenna? Telescoping that back heel out of your pelvis like you were extending the antenna on your old school cell phone. And then it's reaching forward, full deep inhale. Arms up on the exhale. Going right away to shake hands with warrior three. Would be hands to heart, inclining your torso, pouring your weight forward, not only into the foot, but into the hip of that front leg. Suspending back leg just for a moment before you bring it up. Half sun salutation. Full deep inhale. Sweeping up. Exhale, folding. Bit of a lift, inhale. All the way upside down. Exhale. Let's come right back up. Inhale up. Arms to the side. Oh my goodness. I don't know how it's possible, but we've been practicing for almost 45 minutes already. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here we have to do yet. So I think one of the more important things to do this morning by way of full body movements and embodied engagement is a bit of a kneeling lunge. And having done that standing lunge, I think we're well prepared to do the kneeling lunge. So let's just head for the floor by way of a half sun salutation, inhaling up, exhale, folding. And we'll come right away to hands and knees. And then bringing that right foot forward between your hands, such that the foot is forward of your knee. So knee back here, foot here, so that when you lunge forward, knee comes out over hip. Just like that. And let's do that movement to lunge forward just a bit. Over that front knee over front foot. And next time you're in that bent knee position, lunged forward. Remember how in standing lunge, we lifted the front of our hips up towards the ceiling? See if you can do the same thing right here. Lifting the front of your pelvis and just maybe 1/4 of an inch or so towards the front ceiling, towards the ceiling. And then we've got our right leg bent in front of us. Taking your right hand and putting it behind your head. We're going to rotate, turn to the right. Yeah, turning in the same direction as that bent knee. Bent elbow, bent hand behind your head on that side. And on an exhale, coming up forward, coming down to hands and knees. And then just standing on hands and knees, lifting arms up, sweeping them up. You guessed it. Checking in left side, right side. One side feel a little bit freer, a little bit more enlivened. Yeah, wouldn't be surprising. Going a little deeper. Sure, it feels different. How does it feel different? If it was a temperature, would it be warmer or colder on one side than the other? If it were colors, would be a lighter color, brighter color, darker color? And then sweeping arms on down. We'll go to the other side. So that other foot coming forward, hands on hips, and we just do that. Kneeling lunge, coming forward and back a few times. The next time that lunge is forward, then it's tipping the front of your hips up towards the ceiling just a bit, feeling a little bit of a tug in that back leg down to the floor leg. And then it's left hand behind your head and rotating, turning to the left. Coming on forward, coming on down, coming to hands and knees, sweeping both arms up. Yeah, so both arms up in the air. Yeah, it's tempting to use neck muscles to hold those arms up. See if you can let your neck muscles flow out of the back of your skull. Ah, there you go. Down your spine. Arms sweeping on down. And let's just, while we're down here, and we're getting close to running out of time, let's just stay on the floor. So on the floor, coming seated first, having done some opening for the front of your body, hip flexors, let's come onto your back and we'll do some bridge pose. But bridge pose with that arm lift and head turn, kind of similar to what we did way back in the beginning of class. So it begins with rotating your pelvis so that lower back imprints onto the floor. And then following that same movement, let your tailbone come up, pelvis come up, vertebra come up one at a time. And as hips come up, how about right arm comes up, turn and look left. And then as vertebra come down one at a time, arm comes down, turn and look straight overhead. So hips tipping begins the movement, and then as pelvis lifts, arm lifts, head turns and looks the other way. And as pelvis, as vertebra come back down one at a time, arm comes down, head looks the other. One more each way. So it begins with that pelvis tilt, lower back imprinting, and then spine lifting one segment at a time. And then coming back down one segment at a time. Yeah. Last one on this side. While we're down here on our back, just bringing your knees in towards your chest. Hands on knees. On an exhale, draw knees in, maybe more towards your shoulders than towards the center of your chest. Knees coming a little bit wide, drawing knees in and out. A little bit of release for lower back. Next time those knees are drawn in, then bring the soles of the feet together, reaching up and grabbing either ankles or shins. Remember, how we do this when we're sitting is we don't try to force things. See if you can take your knees out of your hip sockets and at the same time touching pads of all 10 toes together, knees moving out of the hip sockets. So I'm not pushing, I'm not pulling with my hands and arms. Pads of the toes, shaking hands, knees moving away from the hip sockets. And then bringing feet together, knees together, coming on down, rolling to one side and coming seated. So coming seated with soles of the feet on the floor and knees bent. Let's put your hands on the outside of your knees and bringing feet together. We're going to take knees out to the side, but hands are going to resist. So knees are going to open to the side. Hands are going to give them some resistance so that we activate deep hip muscles, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, piriformis. Yeah, there's about 5 or 6 others. And then hands on the inside of your knees coming together, hands resisting just a bit. So going one more time each way, activating deep hip muscles. Hands resist as knees try to push out to the side. Deep hip muscles activating, feeling how that feels to take knee out to the side, resist with your hand. Guess what? Going to do that in a little different way right now. So coming onto your back, crossing left foot, left ankle over right thigh, and then taking your left hand and holding it on that left knee, just like we did a moment ago. And just like we did a moment ago, that left knee is going to try to move out to the side. The hand is going to resist it, hold it back. And then drawing the other knee in. So drawing in, knee trying to move away, hand trying to draw it in. Until you feel a little bit of a tug in that deep hip area. And maybe knee has to come almost to center line of your body, but it's still trying to resist against the hand. No need to overdo it. Let's come on down and go right away to the other side. Then we'll turn, face a different way so maybe you can see what I'm doing a little better. It's ankle over thigh, hand behind knee, knee trying to move out to the side, hand resisting, pulling it in, and then bringing the other leg in. Yeah. So I don't know about you, but there's a fair amount of difference deep in my left hip compared to the right hip. One side a little bit tighter than the other side. And then letting that come on down, bringing both feet to the floor, rolling to one side, and coming seated. Extending both legs out in front of you, and then crossing right leg over, or right foot over left leg, or bringing that right foot up next to the left knee. Let's start by just bringing it up next to, and then bringing it over, bringing the foot over and fork in the road. If there's a little bit of a pinching sensation in your groin when you bring that foot over, that's the signal you should obey. Yeah, no need to bring that foot over if it causes discomfort deep in that right hip. But if it doesn't, bringing it on over, and then either grabbing that right knee with the left hand, other hand comes behind, twisting into the upright knee. Yeah, kind of similar to some other things we've done so far. Interestingly enough, because we're sitting on the floor, anchored to the floor, pelvis not so flexible, not so able to rotate or move, a little bit more intense. I see a fair number of people when I teach live. First thing they do is come in, sit down on their mat, start doing some seated twists. Probably not a good idea. One of the most intense postures you could do. Better to do it at the end of practice. Let's come on out. Come out, go right away to the other side. So it's either that foot next to the knee or foot over the leg. Wrap an arm around or grabbing with your hand. Yeah. If you've got long arms like I do, members of the long arm club, you can crook that knee in your elbow, bringing the other hand behind. Remember how we let our knee rotate out to the side and hand resist it? Doing some of that right here. Not just using that knee as a lever to pull yourself around, but actually engaging deep hip muscle by taking knee out to the side. And on an exhale, coming up. Yeah. So we could end with laying down twist. And if you have a yoga block handy or a furniture pillow handy, it would be the pillow between your knees or the block between your knees, but not necessarily a requirement. Let's just come onto our back with knees drawn in and then rolling up onto your left side like you were going to sleep on your left side. And then with knees down, bent and tucked in, opening your torso back towards the ceiling, extending out through that upper arm. And just a couple breaths here. Remember all of those things we've done so far with hips and spine, shoulders and neck. Going to come together right here. Perhaps you'll be able to feel it a little bit more when we come out of the pose. So coming out of the pose on an exhale, first bringing that right arm all the way over, kind of like closing the clamshell. And then we'll go right away to the other side. Knees tucked in. And you could have pillow or block between your knees, or you could just have knees together. And then opening your torso back towards the ceiling, reaching out. What would be different about reaching through the little finger side of your hand versus just indiscriminately reaching out? Little finger engage things a little differently? Maybe yes, maybe no. And on an exhale, bringing that arm all the way over. closing the clamshell. And we'll just spend about a minute here on our back, final resting pose. You can either have knees bent, soles of the feet on the floor, or legs straight out. All of those instructions, the ones I promised not to give too many of, letting all of that stuff go. Body releasing, receiving gravity. Exhale, effortless. Inhale, spontaneous. One of these next exhales, letting it be like a sigh of relief exhale all through your mouth. And if eyes are closed, opening your eyes. First transition is if legs are straight, bending your knees. And then it's rolling to one side and coming seated. Let's just meet in a simple seated position. And we'll close with a collective inhale, sweeping arms up. And exhale, hands to heart. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me.